It's Molly Collins with Wellness Live, and on today's episode, we're talking with an old friend of mine named Katie. She's from Clare, Michigan, and she's going to be talking to us about her story about at 25 years old, she got diagnosed with a disease that could have completely crippled her.
Hi, my name is Kate, and I am an old friend of Miss Collins. We used to play basketball against each other or with each other in high school, so that's how I know her. I am also a mother of two. I have a 5-year-old in kindergarten and a 1-year-old. I also have a husband who works away from home in order for me to stay home, so I have that going on as well. And I was diagnosed at 25 with extremely progressive rheumatoid arthritis, which just is a fancy way of saying that my body's attacking itself. My immune system is pretty shot, and it's been quite the journey since finding all of this out and getting on the path to treatment and all of that. So a couple of things I want to touch on today would be positive energy and motivation. Two things that I really struggled with through college, but also really bad when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. So the first one is positive energy. So when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at 25, I only had my son at the time, and we had just moved to Florida. I was doing marketing, which is what I had graduated from college with. It was a degree in marketing. And I was all excited, like, this is it, my life's going. And I was at what I would consider the peak of that career, my marketing career. And all of a sudden, my world came crashing down. I couldn't move, couldn't do things on my own without somebody helping me, couldn't walk. I was miserable. And I had hit basically my rock bottom at that point, or what I consider my rock bottom. And I was laying in bed one day, and I had nothing better to do, right? I was laying there and couldn't move. So I started to think to myself, how much had changed since my diagnosis. And one of the main things was I realized how much I had changed. I basically let this disease consume me and take over my mind, body, spirit, all this, right? So that moment, I realized that I was no longer going to let it consume me. I was no longer going to let it control my life any more than it already had. So I decided to take a positive approach to life. I found that by putting positive energy into nearly everything I've done has truly made it better for not only myself, but anyone else involved in this life, right? So if I'm feeling stressed or I feel like the world is starting to just fall, I turn it around, and it may be something as simple as going, no, I'm not going to let this control me. I'm going to smile. I'm going to put a smile on my face, and I'm going to move forward. And that goes with any aspect of your life. So when you are in high school and you have certain situations to face, making it a positive experience, whether you want it to be or not, could truly make it better. And when I was in college, I struggled with finding my way. I didn't know really who I was in this world other than, new to college, new to the world. And I have found so many times that just smiling more and, we can't control everything. So why not make it a positive experience in whatever you do? So say you go off, you graduate and you don't know what to do with your life. Just remember, it's okay. Let's just face it head on. Let's put some positive energy towards whatever we start to do. And if we find that that's not for us, fix it, change it, change your behaviors for what you're doing, which also goes with motivation. So, so I have to change feet here. So lovely rheumatoid arthritis. So anyway, when you leave and you go out into this big, crazy world, you may feel like it is very overwhelming. And it is. It truly is. I struggled the first semester. I went off to a university, decided that was not for me. After that, I went to a community college. I changed my major 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I don't know, somewhere in there. Changed my major, decided that what I wanted to do was marketing, and I had started in audiology, so completely different fields. I don't know how I got to where I got. So anyway, I was just using a lot of my motivation of what did I want my future to look like. And a lot of it was my future for a year or two out. It was also my future for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And whether that's setting goals or just saying, this is what I want my future to look like, so here are the steps I'm going to take to get to that point. Obviously, life throws you curveballs. We all know that. My rheumatoid arthritis was a very, very big curveball. I felt like I was on third base getting ready to go home, and here I was starting all over. So just remember that your motivation is going to change with your life, with your situations, just as your behaviors will always change. So wrapping it all together, just saying that positive energy and motivation go hand in hand. They are going to be two things that you really need to pay attention to in life. Figure out what's going to motivate you, what's going to get you through life, just as I had to do with rheumatoid arthritis in college and, any aspect. Again, just put a smile on your face, find the positive in even a negative situation. Find something that you can turn around to make it yours, to make it better. And I promise you, you will see that this makes all the difference in the world. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope that wasn't too rambly and it wasn't too much of just a randomness, really. It probably was, but that's life for you. So again, more smiles. And I wish you the best of luck as you move forward in life. Thanks for letting me talk to you guys today.
Mother of two. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old who keep me very, very busy. And I am a stay-at-home mom. That is my job, and it is a very fulfilling and very busy job. I also do marketing on the side and some photography for fun. My husband said I needed a hobby, so I got one. It's an expensive one, but I got one. So that's what I do in my spare time, if I have any. And I am also dealing with, or I guess, managing my rheumatoid arthritis, which was diagnosed at 25, and no history of it in my family. So it's been a very big learning curve for all of us, especially myself, as it's not something I've even really heard of other than on commercials and that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit about me. And my lovely daughter just went down for a nap, so fingers crossed she stays down the whole time we're talking.
Oh, I'm sure she will. So a couple people have heard of rheumatoid arthritis, and that's a really big word for me to say. So
yeah, I had to get used to it too.
Can you explain a little bit of what that is?
Yeah. So basically what it is my body attacks itself from the inside. So it attacks my joints, it attacks bones, anything around the bone. So it's a very deep internal pain. When I first noticed it, it was swelling of my fingers, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't do a lot of the things I normally would do. So essentially what it does is just attacks my immune system. So if anyone's sick around me, I usually get that illness plus some. I have to be very careful about who I'm surrounded by. And then, with little kids, they have the most germs in the world. It's insane. My son tends to bring home a lot of those germs from school. So we just have to be careful about that kind of stuff. And I've started taking medicine, about almost 3 years ago. I was starting steroids. And from the steroids, I had actually controlled the pain. And at that point, it had spread to every inch of my body. So it was in my feet and it was in my head. It was literally every inch of my body. So that was part of that learning curve of learning, what my strengths and weaknesses were now going forward. And then I am also on, excuse me, my phone's making noise. So I'm on infusions, and those are about every 4 to 6 weeks. I get infusions where I just sit down and they pump in the medicine, and it's actually helped me quite a bit so far. So fingers crossed that this is the answer, at least in the temporary, until I really start feeling like myself again.
Awesome. Girls, have any questions about that at all? No? So you said you were diagnosed at 25.
Yeah.
And are you still down in Florida? I guess I don't even know that.
No, I'm in the freezing cold of Michigan.
Okay.
We moved back about 2 years ago when I was fairly new to the rheumatoid arthritis. And it was kind of guessed that Florida's humidity and heat constantly was actually making it worse. So it felt like my body was on fire all the time, and it was always swollen and just really made everything worse, which is crazy because usually the cold makes everything worse. But for some reason, I'm opposite.
I was going to say, I thought it would be the opposite.
Yeah, I thought so too, but no. So far it's been a little better up here. The winters are a little rough, but nowhere near what Florida was.
Okay. And you talked a little bit in your intro video about the positive energy, and I gave a little bit of a background on you yesterday when I was explaining to the girls kind of how we met in our unique, I don't know, dynamic that we're kind of family, but not really.
Right. I didn't touch on that because I was like, it's a little confusing. It's a lot confusing, actually.
So I guess, can you kind of flash back into your childhood? And I mean, how were you managing to stay positive throughout all of it? Like,
Yeah, so I come from a divorced household. My parents actually divorced when I was just over a year old, so I don't know them together. However, I do know them apart. And growing up was actually a really big struggle for me. I was constantly torn between wanting to make everybody happy, which in a divorced household, at least for my situation, was very difficult. I was just always the kid that wanted everybody to be happy. So if my mom wanted me to do something, I'd do it. But then if my dad needed me that same day, I would just break down. I didn't know what to do because I wanted them to both be happy. And I was definitely stuck in the middle of all of it. Maybe it was more one-sided than the other. So my mom was actually really good about never down talking anyone on the other side of the family. So it did help. And it was one of those that I saw that she was always seeing the light in everything. So it was a tough situation. However, she got out of whatever she didn't like in that situation and made a better life for us. And she was a single mom for a few years. And in that time, I really saw what a strong person she was. I was striving to be that kind of person. And I think a lot of my parenting comes from her, just seeing how she was just very strong and, she was very real about everything. She talked to us about life and made sure that we understood that we were in charge of ourselves. And a lot of that is that positive energy. So when I was diagnosed with everything and I was starting to get really negative and really in a really, really dark place, I remembered all of that stuff. Like I had said, I was laying in bed and I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm guessing a lot of this is from my negative energy and me just being defeated and feeling like there's nothing I can do, but there was. And this positive energy, call it what you want, but it has really changed and transformed how I handle a lot of things. And that's in parenting, that's in my marketing and in just staying home and in my rheumatoid arthritis as well. Just knowing that when I start to get negative, my pain starts to go up. And we may not always feel that. And if you don't have rheumatoid arthritis, which hopefully none of you will or do, you can start to feel, maybe you get stressed and you're turning flush, or you just feel really tired. There are certain things that you start to realize that you do when you're starting to get that negative energy. So just bringing yourself out of it, finding a few things that you're really grateful for, things that you're looking forward to, and that kind of stuff to get you out of that negative mindset.
Love that. I have it as well. So I hold a lot of my tension in my shoulders. And
yes.
We live in a society where we're always on our phones and we're hunched forward. And then you add the stress to it. And now I'm always in that shrugging position. So I get a lot of headaches. So I know exactly what you mean by just the more positive I say, the better I feel in general. So
absolutely.
So, and you talked about how your mom altered how you, I guess, have raised your children. So what has been the biggest blessing in terms of becoming a parent?
Honestly, both my kids, even though they're completely different and different ages, they have just shown me that childhood happiness again, right? So they just have so much energy that they just want to show me everything. They love everything about the world. They have such big hearts, even at such young ages. And they really help me get out of any funks I might be in. And there's times where I'm really just too tired for things, but then I get that little voice going, will you play cards with me? Or look what I did at school. And it really just makes me excited again. And the love that they provide back is just, it's the greatest thing in the world. And it's really made me realize that a lot of my calling in life was to be a mom, which I always thought anyway, but having them here and part of my life just makes everything better for me. And hopefully them too.
I think so, yes. Girls, anything so far? I think it's a pretty open book. She'll answer anything. Yeah. Who was your biggest supporter growing up?
Honestly, other than my mom, I would say that my grandparents were. They were a big part of our lives, and they still are. I actually just went and stayed the day with them the other day, and they really always pushed us. They were very good about being real as well, and they come from a different style of parenting. Obviously, they come from, the 60s, 70s, and life was way different then. However, they always made sure that we were pushing ourselves and being the best person that we could be.
Good question. Yeah.
What's the main thing that gets you motivated?
What is the main thing that keeps you motivated?
Well, obviously the kids. However, just knowing that there's so much more to life, that I have a lot more to do, and knowing that I can always change my future. I always planned on doing, like when I got into college and I changed my major a few times, and finally got into marketing. Oh, I can do so much with this. And then I changed things around, and it's just knowing that I can always do that. I can always do something different if I don't like where I'm at. And right now I'm kind of at the at-home mom stage, but definitely working towards maybe something else when the kids are both in school, maybe going into preschool teaching or something that is a little bit of marketing, so a little bit of hands-on, finger painting, that kind of stuff. And then also something that I feel like in my heart I could provide for others. So I would guess just the future, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, another question.
How do we start to be positive and get that motivation?
Could you hear that or no?
A little bit.
She asked, how do we start to be positive, or what was the word you phrased?
Just to start to get the motivation.
Or start to get the motivation to be positive. Like how did that light switch go for you?
Yeah. So a lot of it comes from just, I guess, recognizing where you're at and knowing that there are a lot of good things around you. So when I start to get down and I need that little bit of positive energy, I just think of how far I've come in life and where I'm at and what I have. So I'm not big on material things. It's more about experiences. So when I start to get down, I go, oh my gosh, the kids and I just went and did this, whatever it might be. And I think, okay, I loved that. And I love that my heart felt full and happy. So I'll kind of just use that energy from something that I've done, or just looking at pictures and going, oh my gosh, I've come so far since this moment. Like when I was in the worst part of my rheumatoid arthritis, I was on a very high dosage of steroids. Obviously, I had gained a lot of weight. So I had gained about, I want to say 80 pounds in total over the course of a couple of years just from steroids. So it was for me, a really hard point. And now that I look back on that kind of stuff, it's that positive to go, look what I've done. I was my own advocate for my health, and I've come so far. I've basically gotten my body back in the sense that I needed it. And just, I guess, finding those little things, and finding, even if it's a big thing or a little thing, you're finding something that in your heart you feel happy again.
Yeah, let's.
What types of things did you do as a kid to help you feel better?
As a kid, well, I was surrounded by siblings, and even if I wasn't, a lot of what we did was played outside. And I'm sure you guys hear that a lot, like, oh, kids back in the day used to play outside. Well, we did. We rode bikes, we played wiffle ball, we did just about anything and everything outside. And another thing I found that I really loved was baking. So my grandma had taught me how to do a lot of baking, not so much cooking. So I apologize to my family for my meals not being so great. However, I can make some killer cookies. So I would do a lot of baking, and it was a good stress relief for me as well, because I would pretend that I was on a baking show, which sounds crazy, but even sometimes to this day, in my head, I'm like, oh, a little pinch of this and a pinch of that, and I'll just pretend that, I'm in a different world. So sounds crazy, but that's just what I would do.
Awesome. Do any of you have any hobbies that you like to do that get you out of your own head?
Run, dance, art.
Run,
music,
dance, art,
music,
cooking.
I love
It's awesome.
Okay, so some good stuff. I like it. So I guess do you mind us getting into like some personal questions?
Go for it.
Can you tell how many siblings you have, actually?
Yes. So I have an older brother, I have a younger brother, and a younger sister, and we're all pretty spread out. My older brother is about 10 months older than me, so we were what they call Irish twins. We think a lot of the same things, do a lot of the same things, even though we're not twins. And I have a younger brother who is, I think he's about 23.
Yeah.
He'll be 23 this year. So bad with ages anymore. So I have him, and then I have my younger sister who is a senior in high school. And we're all completely different, but when we're all together, it's like we're kind of all the same person. So I have those, and then I married into a family who has, my husband has 2 brothers and 3 sisters. A little bit different dynamics there too, because he doesn't, like, we're not close to a couple of them. So anyway, kind of just a big family to a big family, and that's, we're at 2, so.
And then how did you meet your husband?
I met my husband through work. I started working at a credit union when I was 20, and he was working there as well. And sounds crazy.
Sorry.
It's okay. Sounds crazy, but when we met and we shook hands, it was one of those moments where it was literally like fireworks. Like, we just knew in that moment that we were meant to be together, which I love saying, because sometimes that's one of those positive things that, you pull out and you go, oh, remember that moment. Like, you just remember those things.
Very cool. Do you guys have any other personal questions?
How old are your kids?
How old are your kids?
My son is 5. His name is Asher, and he is in kindergarten. And I apologize, he's 5.5 because they will tell you that. So he is 5.5, and my daughter is just over 1. She is about 15 months, and she is obviously at home with me, and we're really working on getting her to walking. So that's where she's at right now.
They're like, we want to see the baby.
I'm sorry, she's sleeping. Otherwise, she would be knocking this computer over and getting into everything. I can show you a picture. I can pull my phone up real quick. I'll show you a picture of her. Let's see here. Of course, I have tons of pictures, and I just can't find. Let's see. Okay, let's see. This is her this fall. Okay, this is my son. I'll start with him. I don't know if you can really see it. Probably really hard to see it. So that's my son, and that was after one of his fun runs he did. They like to stay active as much as I can with them, at least. Let them do their things. And then this is my daughter.
Adorable.
She's very bald. She has just a little bit of hair, but a very, very, very big personality, which I'm not used to, that girl personality, but she's got a lot of it. She's very headstrong.
I like that you just brought up that you like to stay active with the kids, and I'm going to kind of reverse back into a little bit of our conversation. And you said that you had gained a lot of weight when you got diagnosed due to the steroids and that. Do you feel as if physical activity has helped you feel better throughout the process of having this disease?
It has, and a lot of what I would do before, so I did a lot of weightlifting back in high school and even some after high school, and then when I got the rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis, I changed to finding out what I could do. So I can't do weightlifting anymore. I can barely lift my kids. I can barely lift a cup some days. So I've just learned to do different things. A lot of resistance bands are actually really good for me because it's more of a fluid movement. And walking is a very big one. Obviously right now it's been a little cold and I've been in a little more pain with switching medicines, but walking has been one of the biggest ones. So it's something, right? If you're walking 30 minutes, if you're walking an hour, whatever you do, as long as it's something. And this summer we walked just about everywhere. We live in a pretty central location to like the mall and some other things, the parks, which my son loves going to the park, and my daughter does too now that she's getting bigger. So it's always just finding something that fits your situation that you can do, and not going outside because of your comfort zone, because there's different comfort zone, I guess, your physical comfort zone, because I found that when I would have a lot more pain. So it's just knowing to stay within certain limitations and going from there.
I love that you said that. And I was actually listening to a friend's podcast last night, and she was talking with a personal trainer on there and was in an interview, and they were talking about how a lot of females get the perception that they have to train with a lot of resistance often in order to get results that they want. And it's a myth. And she was saying that, like, you know what, like a couple days a week of doing resistance training, and then anything to where you're just moving the other days, like, and then have a day of complete rest. And I think it's really important that you said that, because there's days that I just go for a walk with Brody, my dog, and that's my activity for the day. And it's okay. Like, I don't need to be under a barbell every single day. And like last night, all I did was stretch because I felt really tight, and I went for a walk and I stretched. And I think that's really important that you said that it's okay to just be active in the way of just playing with your kids or doing chores or whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, one of the big things I like to do now, my husband bought me a new vacuum and I was all excited about it. I mean, even something as simple as vacuuming, like that's actually a lot of work on my part, just because of like having to have a little bit of strength, but it's actually very good for stretching and just moving around. And we have stairs in our place, so going up the stairs. I mean, those are the little things that do add up.
That's awesome. Do you girls have any other questions before I start to wrap it up?
I do have a question about your photography. So did you go through any like training or school to do that, or did you just like start doing it for fun?
So I kind of just started doing it, but it was also one of those that I would do, I'd watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I would read a lot of blogs, a lot of how-tos, tips, that kind of stuff. And I did take a couple courses just on the side, just for fun. Didn't learn as much as I'd hoped, but it was one of those that I learned better by doing. So I just picked up my camera, I would watch a couple videos and then go for it. And I've progressed over time. So when I started, I think I started right after my son was born, and it just really progressed from there. So I could use him as a model, and I would just get out and practice different techniques and different lighting, that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of learned. However, it was also a lot of videos and how-tos.
Well, I mentioned that yesterday, and a couple of the girls were like, so that means she's going to do my senior pictures next year? And I was like, I don't know, maybe if you ask her. So that was funny. So overall, we're going to wrap it up here, but I would like to know, what would be your biggest piece of advice that you could give teen girls right now?
I would say the biggest piece would be something I wish I had heard or told myself when I was a teenager, and that is just to be true to yourself. Too often we get caught up in the ways of the world and trying to fit in and trying to be somebody that we're not, and that just hurts us in the long run, and it hurts us in the short run. So it's one of those that stay true to yourself. If you love doing certain things that others find weird, so what? They're not you, and that's okay, because we're all unique, and we all have our things that we're going to do, and we don't have to impress anyone. So yeah, just be true to yourself. And it's going to be hard. There are really hard days in high school. There are really hard days in college. There are really hard days as an adult being a mom. So just stay true to yourself, and you'll find that happiness, I promise.
I love it. Girls, anything else? Anything that's racking your brain? No. Awesome.
No pressure.
I do have one last question. I think it was really interesting. I heard this yesterday. Is there anything that you're watching or reading or listening to that you're really engaged with right now that you would like to share with someone? You're watching, reading, or listening to?
I actually just downloaded the Girl Wash Your Face.
Yes.
So good. And that one, I got that as an audiobook, and I also just downloaded the other one by, I think it's Rachel Hollis. Girl Stop Apologizing. Yes. And I've only listened to snippets from it, which is why I downloaded them, because they were amazing, and they hit at any point in your life. They are just, they're so good.
Agree. Awesome.
So that's where I'm at.
Well,